Hello and welcome to our 2020-2021 edition of the Snohomish County 4-H Volunteer Update. My name, Ashley Hall. I'm the 4-H faculty here in Snohomish County. You're going to hear from a couple more staff members here, but here's our lovely introduction slide so you can at least see our faces. Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, I am Kim Baker. I'm our 4-H program coordinator.
I'm Beth Wangan, and I'm the 4-H volunteer development coordinator.
And I just wanted to shout out to Christy Boyd, our 4-H secretary.
And we're going to start today with some policy updates. Every year, a committee at the state level evaluates our policies and considers changes. So here's one place where you can always find the statewide 4-H Policy and Procedures Handbook at our state 4-H website. If you see a black ribbon on the left, you know you're on the state website. And under member resources there, you can see the 4-H Policy and Procedures Handbook. And if you click on that, you will see the front page, which is on the next slide. There it is. You can also get to this through our county webpage if you're more familiar with that. It is on the resources page. So this year, there were a few policy changes that I wanted to make you aware of. Starting with some additions, which are in yellow there, highlighted in yellow, additions to the discriminatory behaviors policy. So you can see there, this is not going to shock you at all. They just added the words that behaviors that are unwelcome and sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive that it has the purpose or effect of creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment. And then they include some of the examples on this slide and the next slide. So anytime we have any changes to our prohibited behaviors rules, I want to make sure that everyone is aware of those. And next slide, guess what? What could we possibly be foreshadowing here? Yep, all those discriminatory behaviors also apply to the online and virtual formats. So something everybody should be aware of is it's not just in person. This year, brought to light by our COVID situation, we are doing a lot of things online and virtual, so just make sure you're considering that in that format as well. What about money? Is this a good way to store your 4-H funds? I hope you gave a resounding no. And how do we know that? Well, there is a wonderful 4-H financial management training module. It's only 30 minutes long. And that is required for all club leaders and youth treasurers, also program leaders. And if there are any other 4-H volunteers who assist with treasury activities, maybe they're a signer on the account, maybe they're mentoring the club treasurer, then those folks should also watch that little 30-minute module. It's required annually and within 60 days of the first club meeting each year. So I'm going to show you how to get to that. It is at this website, campus.extension.org. And if you go there, you'll see some courses listed. You click on that top one, 4-H and Youth, and then you'll get some state options. You click on Washington, and you'll see the menu of classes that are offered for Washington. So you're going to do this one right here if you're looking for the financial management module. And when you click on that, it will ask you for a key code. Here is our key code, Snohomish. If you click on that and put in Snohomish, then the report will come to us. We will know that you did it and we can give you credit for it. So yes, please make sure you put that in all caps. So all you have to do is watch the 30-minute video, take the tiny short quiz at the end, and then save that certificate that they will offer you just in case you ever need backup verification that you completed that training. So please, again, make sure that if you are a club leader, program leader, or a treasurer, or you have any connection with the club treasury, that you go ahead and take that training every year. Our next policy update, oh, what could it have to do with? Yep, personal safety. So you may recall a couple of years ago that there was an update about hearing protection for shooting sports, and they've now decided they should include eye protection. So for shooting sports, folks, make sure to wear appropriate, whatever appropriate is according to your training, hearing and eye protection for those activities. What could this be about? Hearing and eye protection in social media? No, it's, it's about your photo releases. So the policy previously stated that for photos and videos to be posted on a 4-H website, that we needed to have those signed media releases from all of our members. And now they realize they should add not just websites, but also social media pages. Probably not shocking news. Most of you have assumed this all along anyway. But just in case you haven't, now it's in writing. Oh, anybody know what this is? Any biochemists out there? It's actually a chaperone protein. Yep, new chaperone requirements having nothing to do with proteins, but that's the picture you get if you do a search for chaperone. So I thought that was kind of fun. So this one is not really very new. We have always said that adults in a chaperone capacity are required to be certified 4-H volunteers. That it's becoming a little stricter now, and I wanted to make you aware that previously existing loopholes for folks who wanted to stay in the dorms with kids during state fair, so this is in Puyallup, where they have a dorm. Previously, it was said, well, in the end, if they just had a background check, it was okay. We are told that that is no longer going to be the case. They really will have to be certified volunteers in order to stay in that dormitory. So plan ahead, let the other folks know who are not certified volunteers yet, who may not be watching this video, to plan ahead if they think they might want to be staying in that dorm at State Fair to become a certified volunteer. And now this policy change might just rock your world a little bit more. This one is about interactions between adults and youth and how many adults need to be present. So previously, the focus was on not being alone with a youth. So 1 adult with 5 youth would be okay. But that is changing now. The new rule is that there must be a minimum of 2 adults whenever there are adult and youth interactions. And this is new. So Kim is going to give us an example of when this has come up in her past life as a 4-H volunteer and how she dealt with it.
Great, thanks, Beth. So I think one of the most common scenarios I have encountered is a youth wants to tell me some information that's maybe a little sensitive to them, and or they want to tell me about a problem they don't want everybody else to know about. So I think what we should do is ask, hey, is there an adult that you feel comfortable having within eyesight or earshot of this conversation? Letting them know that this policy is in place, and then just asking them who they feel comfortable sharing nearby. It doesn't mean that that adult has to hear the entire conversation, although sometimes that could be helpful, but it does mean that we need to have 2 adults in that vicinity when that's taking place.
So Kim's experience was in chaperoning in hotel situations. And when somebody wanted to talk to her privately, she would say, hey, is it okay with you if we stand in the hall outside this other volunteer's room with the door open so that they can also bear witness to whatever's going on? And it was someone the youth was comfortable with, and they agreed.
Yes, yes.
So on the next slide, we can see that this policy is also extending to online and virtual interactions. So this could get a little trickier because we're talking about all kinds of online and virtual formats now, and how do we make sure there are always 2 adults present whenever there are youth in the room, the virtual room. And Ashley has had some experiences and surmounted some challenges with this. So she's going to give us an example of this type of situation.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of online interactions, whether it be in social media or more of a live Zoom format that can get a little tricky here. One example is the Zoom. If you're in a Zoom environment and you're going to have breakout rooms where youth break out into those rooms to do projects with a small group, that's where it can get really tricky, because this could add up the number of volunteers you need to help monitor that. So there's a few ways that we've kind of started to try to tackle this. Is one, if we know that there happens to be a certified volunteer, maybe they're not a club leader or a project leader, but they're the parent of one of the youth, that's definitely a great person to tap and say, hey, do you mind sticking by your kid during this? They're going to be in this breakout room. We need a second adult. In a pinch, we can also ask parents that are available. So when we have those Zoom interactions that are frequent and we know which youth are there frequently and their parents are often there, that's a great resource. Say, do you mind sticking in this room so we have that second adult in the Zoom. Social media can get a little trickier if you're using some sort of Discord server or Facebook Messenger, because often we have youth send us a message privately, without us asking them to. There's a few ways to navigate those interactions. You can let them know, hey, I'm going to bring in so-and-so, and that so-and-so could be another club leader or the project leader, to help figure this conversation out, and then make it a group chat at that point, or guide them to a group chat or a group server that's already open or already in service and use. And it's okay to be honest here in these situations, to say, hey, the WSU policy is I shouldn't be talking one-on-one, or if you're pulled in as the adult into a group chat with a few youth, ask about bringing another youth in or another adult in, saying this is what needs to happen per the policy. And that's just one of a few of my ideas for how to navigate this in the virtual world.
Great. So if you have any comments or questions about any of these policies that have been updated, or any other ones, we would encourage you to use the comment section that is available in the survey that you should complete at the end of this training to let us know that you've done the training, and tell us what you think about them. These are statewide policies, so we do not have immediate control over them, but we can send feedback up the chain to the folks who make these decisions. And sometimes policies do get revised, etc., based on feedback from folks like you. So let us know what you think.
Okay, so Ashley again here, 4-H faculty. I'm going to just talk a little bit about 4-H Online 2.0. So we switched to the 4-H Online 2.0 for this 2020-2021 4-H year. So it came online around October 1st. And there's a few things that we need to know as volunteers. There's the volunteer types. It's a great new feature where we have these 4 separate types of volunteers. But what you select in 4-H Online 2.0 in your profile will dictate whether or not you get to see club options and project options within the system later on. So it's very important that if you're a club leader, if you want to select a club in 4-H Online, you have to make sure you're selecting some sort of club volunteer. And I'll show those levels in a second, the next slide. And then the same for projects. If you are a project leader, you have to select some sort of project level volunteer to be able to see projects. So these 3 pictures are screenshots of my fake profile in 4-H Online as my volunteer enrollment. So this top picture, you see the select volunteer type button. When you click on that, you're going to get a drop down with 4 different ones: program volunteer, your club volunteer, your project volunteer, and your activity volunteer. So program volunteer, that bottom right photo here that we're looking at, that is a strictly administrative volunteer role. So think Pat Paling as the horse program volunteer, or Kenneth Swope as the technology program leader. That's what you're going to select if you're a program administrative, that middle management style volunteer that handles county-wide projects. And the next slide you see when you click on your club volunteer, you see these different options. So you're going to pick whatever's appropriate to you. If you're the leader of a club, like I'm the club leader, then I'm going to pick general club leader. But you could also be a club resource volunteer, providing just different types of resource support, or maybe you lead specific activities such as fundraising activities, whatever is appropriate to you. And remember, you can pick multiple types of volunteer. And then you have the project volunteer. The three options down here, the project activity leader, it means you're actually leading that project in that club. I'm sorry, the project leader is leading that project in the club. Activity leader is similar to your club activity leader. You're leading a project or an activity within that project. And then the same with the resource volunteer. You provide some other sort of resource support to that project. Okay, so once you click one of those, if you picked that you are a project level volunteer, the picture on the left is the menu you will see. And if you picked you're a club level volunteer, the picture on the right is what you will see when you go to add clubs. So you're just going to pick your club or project, and you can type and search, and that'll help filter. But if you don't see either of these windows as you're moving through your enrollment process, it's probably because you didn't pick one of those important volunteer types in the beginning. So go ahead and go back to the beginning and make sure that's selected. And of course, if you ever have questions, contact Christy Boyd, contact me, we can figure that out. Okay, so another aspect of the 4-H Online 2.0 system is the ability for us on the back end of the system to return an application that is incomplete or needs additional steps or information for us to process it fully. And one of the most common reasons that a volunteer application is returned and an email is generated to the volunteer who submitted it in the first place is that we need a background check. So this year, all volunteers with the last name starting with the letters A through K and any L through Z names who did not do a background check last year are getting their applications kicked back to say, hey, don't forget to do your background check, check your email. If for some reason your volunteer application was returned, sometimes those emails, the reasoning for the volunteer application being returned is not very clear or visible in the emails that we're sending through the system. So if you got yours back and you're not really sure why, go ahead and just email snowco.4h@wsu.edu. That's the email right there on the screen, and we will take care of it and get you that information that you need to get that processed properly. So don't be afraid if you get an email that says your application was returned. It's usually just because we need a little bit more information, or we have to get that background check completed before we can finalize your application in the system. In addition, this return the application process is what we use if a volunteer submitted their application before they selected the correct volunteer type. So if you are watching this and you're thinking to yourself, oh no, I already submitted my application and I did not put that I was a club leader, then go ahead and shoot that email at snowco.4h@wsu.edu. Shoot us an email there saying, hey, I need to fix this, and then we can return that application and you can log back into the system and make that correction. Okay, and finally, this is a question we've been getting a lot. Club volunteers or program volunteers that need to check their rosters in the system. It is a functionality that is in progress. It's being built into it. For right now, the easiest way to get your club or program roster, your project roster, is to go ahead and email us. And that's that snowco.4h@wsu.edu. Again, email us and we will help you get that roster, and we will keep you updated as soon as we're able to get you into the system so you can get that on your own. Okay, so knowing that this video is probably going to be viewed throughout the year as new volunteers are onboarded, keep in mind that all the information about 4-H Online 2.0 is current to mid-November. We're recording it on November 19th, just before Thanksgiving. And on that note, currently in present 4-H time of mid-November, we are still not meeting in person. And given that we don't know how the rest of the year is going to go, we don't know what changes are going to occur, but also given that we've learned so much about awesome participation options during this crisis, we wanted to include this virtual and hybrid learning section. And I'm going to hand the presentation off now to Kim Baker, who's going to take us through it.
Right, thanks, Ashley. I think when we're acknowledging this topic, it's important to let you know we're aware that keeping youth involved in a virtual format can be and has been challenging. But as I've thought about how to get youth involved and how to keep them involved, I realize it has a lot more to do with relationships and a lot less to do with content. So I'd like to offer these 3 points to consider. Number one is belonging. Our youth need to know that they are cared about by others, and they need to feel a connection to others. This need to belong is deeply rooted in our emotions. There's positive ways and negative ways to meet that need, but in 4-H, positive youth development helps our youth discover the positive ways to meet their needs, and it can even redirect unhealthy or self-destructive impulses. Studies focused on exploring the impact of our current global climate is having on our kids show that they may need more help than ever before in this area. Hence, they need us, reliable, caring adults, to continue showing up and reaching out. So the question then is how? Our youth have been showing up and participating in virtual clinics and contests, but to provide the sense of belonging so necessary, particularly during this time of unprecedented isolation, they also need a social connection. So it's not surprising that the virtual ideas that have had the most success are rooted in social activity, such as movie nights and scavenger hunts and cookie kits and pumpkin carving virtually together, doing crafts virtually together where everyone's making a kit that had been distributed, having some open hours of some virtual time that they can talk with their leaders or with others, and show and tell. Those have been very popular. So while continuing to provide opportunity for educational growth and mastery are really important in 4-H, and we'll walk through some examples in a few minutes of some activities that you can do. If you've not yet started virtual options for your club or project, I urge you to do so and consider starting with a virtual social activity. The second point that I'd like to address in this update is that through challenging times, having a routine, having something concrete and reliable is very helpful. As 4-H leaders, we can provide that stability and anchor. All our youth may not show up to every virtual opportunity every time, but even just knowing that it's there and will be provides a touch point and a bit of normalcy that's needed right now. So I encourage you to map out the next few months and get things on the calendar. Keep those regular meetings. Do the clinics that you would normally have done, albeit for the time being virtually. And if you need ideas for converting them to a virtual format, let us know. I would love to work with you to create a schedule of events that our youth can look forward to. The important thing is to provide these activities, the routine, the stability, which brings me to my third point for this update, where you may, but you may not be comfortable with virtual formats, but our youth sure are. So please consider utilizing youth leadership to host and facilitate social and educational activities. They definitely have the know-how and they know what they would participate in. I commonly hear, like, we've asked our members what they want to do, and they say they're not interested in coming to another Zoom meeting. Well, me neither. Youth need to know that they're able to influence people and events through decision-making and action. Perhaps asking them to plan and host activities and assisting them as needed would give your club or program the boost it needs to be successful with virtual options. So with those things in mind, I did want to point you to some resources for some virtual activities. So 4h.org has done a great job compiling a bunch of activities online that can be done in an individual setting or with a whole group. And they also have a segment in their website that's called 4-H at Home. And there's the link right there. Another thing is our Facebook page for Snohomish County. And in the events section, we've done some hybrid activities, and we've done some online things here. So you can see some of the things that have happened and that are about to take place. So Facebook is a great place to look. And then Pinterest. You may not have considered Pinterest as a resource, but I have used it a lot. And I just want to show you a couple of pictures here of some ideas that may spark ideas for you. Tons and tons of cool ideas for hands-on, but also they have a lot of activities for team building and games that you can play online. So it's a great resource. Our youth, again, they are a great resource for finding things to do that they are interested in doing. And then our 4-H staff. We're very happy to help, and call or email us even if you don't know maybe what you want to do. Just call if your call is, I want to do something and I just don't know where to start. And finally, I want to encourage you to not think of the time and energy that's invested in creating these virtual tools or formats to be a waste of time, actually, because the techniques we're using right now and the tools we're developing right now, we can keep on using them long after COVID is over. These tools can actually make our program better in the long run. So please be encouraged to keep on creating. You're making a difference, and we really appreciate you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kim. That was awesome. Again, this is Ashley. Hi, I know you can't see me. So thank you for sticking it out, for watching our volunteer update. I hope you found some of the information helpful and that you will take some of it to heart. And again, contact any of us if you have questions. Don't forget to get credit for watching this video. There is a survey below. Just go ahead and click that. It's very quick. And that is a great place for you to put comments and that extra information. If you have reactions to anything that you read here, if you have ideas for things that we can do, let us know in the comments. And thank you so much.
Okay.